All right, so this is the course creation system, the system that we use for our clients so that we can produce a massive amount of content in a short period of time, test it and monetize it as we go. Speed is really important because if the client is paying us every month a retainer fee, then we don't want to be dragging our feet. At the same time, often we have to wait for the client to give us information, to give us data or content back, and that volley back and forth has to happen quickly in order to make it economical, to make it make sense. So this is the system that we're using now. This is the newest system. We've never shared this with anybody before, but this is 6 months from now it could be completely different. But this is the one that, as simple as it is, took us a while to develop. So we're going to start at the left with just topics, and that's just chapters. So think of it in terms of, like, say, if you're writing a book and the book has chapters, and then within that chapters there's different subheadings, right? So you're going to start out with the different topics. So let's create a theme. Let's say our course is, well, let's go back to the guitar analogy that I've been using earlier. So all right, so let's just suppose we're teaching guitar lessons. We're a guitar course, how to play beginner guitar. So what's the first chapter that might exist within that course, if you were to think of it as like as a book? Assuming that somebody didn't know, you're taking the student from knowing nothing to all the way up to, like, say, an intermediate level. The first would probably be something like purchasing, selecting and purchasing a guitar, how to find a guitar, a beginner guitar that works for you, not some junk kid guitar, and not something that's more than what you need, but you can still get a name brand guitar, one of their lesser expensive versions that would be great to learn on, and then after you get better, is still worthwhile keeping around, and so selecting and purchasing a guitar might be the first topic. And then we come up with our second topic, so it's next. Let's talk about maybe the parts of a guitar. It's important that we know, if we're going to play it, what everything is. The strings are obvious, but what's a bridge? What's the neck? What's the body? What's the fretboard? What's a fret? What's the tuning peg? What's the nut? These are your volume controls, your pickup switches. If it's assuming that it's an electric course. What's a pickup, and you can talk a little bit about that. So it's important that we identify the parts of a guitar. I think that's an important chapter, perhaps. And then we would go into maybe holding the instrument, maybe the proper way of holding a guitar. It's important we can't, we don't want to hold it like a violin and try to play it like a guitar. So if you're assuming that somebody's just starting out and they know absolutely nothing, we want to get them comfortable with the instrument. So they want to make sure that they're making the right purchase. Do they need a case? Do they need a guitar stand in that purchase? These are all things that they would need to know. And of course, if it's electric, then they're going to need also an amp, and they're going to need a cable. And so we can walk them through that process. We can talk about sizing and and the differences between one and the other, and how different controls make different sounds, and we can go into all kinds of different directions with just these three topics of discussion. And then let's suppose we want to do something really simple like picking, right? And so we're going to do a picking section, a whole section just on picking, just holding the pick, and and being able to, say, quickly identify the string, second string, fourth string, and maybe knowing the difference between the different notes. So that might be something worth considering, is just what the open strings value are as it relates to notes. The A through G, and which each string represents. And we haven't even gotten into fretting yet. We haven't gotten into playing scales or anything of that nature. But this is just for an example purposes. This is our first 5 topics. And then let's suppose we're going to do our first module. Our module is the chapter in the form of a course section. So given the list on the left, module 1 is going to be purchasing a new guitar for the first time, assuming that you know anything about. And again, this is just an example. This could be a course about anything. I mean, absolutely anything. Music related or any other topic. If you know something, that someone else doesn't, and then there may be some value to that you could teach them. And this is a fantastic way to make a side income or even a full-time income. And when you get these things selling, it's very difficult to deny the power of being able to just wake up in the morning and see that you sold two, you just sold two $500 courses last night while you were sleeping. And it really gets you rethinking some of, a lot of life decisions and whether or not, it's worth going to work at that point. Because when you have multiple courses and you have a system in place that allows you to sell them, then this is what can help afford to fund and drive other efforts, other missions, the things that are more important than just, practical, sustaining day-to-day living, and because that's important. We got to work, make a living, pay our bills so that we can focus on our passions. But what if we can tie those two things together? And a lot of musicians think, well, yeah, but being a full-time musician and making a living is really difficult. And yes, doing it the traditional way, doing the way it was done 20 years ago, is very difficult or virtually impossible. Waiting for that big break. That big break's not coming for most people. It's very, very, very rare that anybody becomes the next, Justin Bieber. So we, American Idol, America's Got Talent, The Voice. These are the platforms now that that's how one gets discovered now, which is way different than how it was in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. But this is a model that's allows anybody to be absentee from the whole thing. You just need to maybe provide some sort of back-end support. But you sell it once and that's it. You go do something else while these continue to sell. But the key is to create the content first, make sure that the content is good, and then also have a marketing method behind that to support the sales. And once you get all those things together, whether or not one should or shouldn't is a no-brainer, because everybody knows something that someone else doesn't know. So we're just talking about purchasing in Module 1. And now let's break that down into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to say 10. Okay? This is the method that we're using now. We're going to break that down, and it could be give or take. It's like how many songs are in an LP? Roughly 10, but that doesn't mean that it couldn't be 15 or it couldn't be, 9, right? So purchasing guitar. What are the things that we need to know about purchasing? Let's break down purchasing. Think of this as as its own course. Okay, so it's no longer a module. Okay, that module 1 is also your first course. This gives us a way. Yes, that's trust me, that says course. This is a way for us to test each module by itself as if it were a standalone course. Purchasing a guitar. So what do we want to cover? Where, right? Do we want to cover, where should you go? Should you go to a brick and mortar music store like Guitar Center, or should you buy it online? And what are some of the advantages or disadvantages of each? And what are some of the brands that we should be looking at? Should we be looking at Rockstar guitars, or whatever those no-name kid guitars are? Because there's companies out there that'll charge you way too much money for guitar that's supposedly geared towards the beginner or towards the child. Or should we be looking at, other brands like, I don't know, who were some of the other ones? Ibanez makes an RG series for under $150. Who else? Gibson, or Gibson's subsidiary. What are they called? And there's who else is there that makes good entry-level guitars? Fender. Fender makes a good entry-level guitar under $150. I played one; it was fantastic. Nothing I would use, but I would certainly recommend it to a new student just playing. So just starting out. So mentioning those brands, are really important. I think this is an important place to go. And then we got the next one, number 3. Number 4, we don't need to go into details. Number 5, right? These are all things, and what just happened, these are all things pertaining to purchasing a new guitar for the beginner guitarist who's never bought one before and has no idea where to begin that search. These are important decisions that somebody who's been playing for 10 years forgets. They don't know. They don't know the struggle that somebody's having right now trying to figure out, where do I even begin? And a lot of times it's not even the student themselves. It's the parents of the student. And they have no clue where to go to buy a guitar for their child. Or it's an aunt or an uncle or a grandparent in some cases. So you're going to walk them through that process. Now you got your first course completely finished. That's not too difficult. We're talking about 10 videos. It's just put your phone, even if you have fancy equipment and editing gear, don't use it. Resist the temptation and the urge to make it good. The content needs to be good, but the quality just needs to be there enough. Because all of your content is going to be reproduced later on after you've proven that it's saleable and after you've realized what types of things should have made it into the course that you didn't think of at the time that you did the first one. Or the kind of things or the things that took too long, things that didn't need to be there, right? And as you watch it, you're going to say, yeah, I could have done that better and I could have done that better. You know how it is. And then so the next time you're going to decide you're going to redo Module 3. Or, this weekend I'm going to redo Module 1 because there's things in there that should be there. So you don't want to spend a lot of time. The key is to get it done quickly. That's it. Just get it done. So this should not take more than a weekend. Okay? It's 10 videos that don't need to be any more than 5 minutes in length. Okay? And you've got a course. You could actually do the whole entire course creation system in a weekend. But it's not going to be, it's going to be a full-on effort, though. It's going to be morning to late night, But it's just like studio work. It's just like recorded studio. It's going to be a ridiculous amount of hours, nonstop, video production, all that stuff. So anybody that's got that, and like I said, this is not the kind of thing that I recommend for everybody, but for people who I know can excel using this method, and I'm usually pretty good at making that determination early on, that this course creation system can be incredibly effective. How much should we sell this how to, buy a guitar when you're a beginner guitarist and you don't know anything about guitars? We're not going to call it that. Come up with a really catchy title and make sure we target it to those people who are aspiring guitar enthusiasts. We sell that course for $0. Okay, this is our beta course. This is our beta course. And that's it. We're giving it away for free. And this becomes our lead magnet, this course, a whole entire course, 10 modules, absolutely free of charge, right? And we can give this away to 10 people that we've identified that are our target market, people who want to learn how to play guitar, but they've just never pursued it. And ideally, these are people that we know personally. Then comes our second. The second course is going to be this one. We're going to repeat the process. The parts course, learning and understanding the parts of your guitar, where everything is and how it works together is incredibly important for a beginner guitarist, and I've created a whole course about it. 10 modules I'm going to offer to you absolutely free. Okay? And so the parts course, we're going to repeat this model here. Module 1 is now Module 2 because it's the parts course. And we're going to offer a parts course. But it's not going to be free. This time, we're going to sell it for $10. And it's going to include both how to purchase a guitar and the parts of the guitar. And with 20 videos on there, there should be $10 worth of value. Because making the mistake of buying the wrong guitar, is not really conducive for long-term learning. So it's important that we point that out as a potential pain point for somebody who wants to learn. You want to learn how to play guitar, but you don't have a guitar yet, that's a problem. You need to start with buying a guitar, but since you might not know which one to buy, I'm going to walk you through that process so that you don't have to make that mistake. And that's $10 worth of information that is going to become invaluable in your learning and development, and and your ability to become an accomplished guitarist, which you will someday be, but it starts with the purchase. The most important part of the process of learning to play guitar is making sure that you're buying the right guitar from the very beginning. So you explain that in your ad, and there's no reason why you shouldn't be selling that all day long at $10. Now, learning the parts of guitar, well, you can just throw that in as a bonus. And as a bonus incentive, I'm going to include my second course, which is learning and understanding the parts of the guitar and how they all work together and why it's important to know it so that you can actually get the most out of your sessions. Now, that's all they're buying for $10. And they're thinking, well, I see $10 worth of value in that. They're not learning how to play. But do you think these people are going to be interested in learning how to play guitar? Of course they are. That comes your upsell later on. Okay, then we talk about, we repeat this process again and again and again. And every time we complete a new course, it becomes a new module for a bigger course, and we tack on an extra $10. Okay, so when you add the holding your guitar portion and you create another 10 videos that explain all, and you think, well, how can I create 10 videos about holding the guitar? Oh, you can get creative and fill in space. Again, you're only talking about 5 minutes worth of video content here. Maybe 10. You could go as high as 10 if you just want to fill in the gaps to make them feel like they're getting, greater value. But it may not be necessary. So then your course increases in price for $20, and you're getting great value because it's going to walk you through how to purchase your guitar, the parts of the guitar, proper way of holding the guitar, how to pick, knowing your notes, all the basic, everything, the basic fundamentals. And then you call this, all 5 of these, right? All 5 of these modules, you're going to be now selling $10 a module, right? Not sure why I used $2 signs there. $50. And you call it your Basic Essentials Beginner Guitar course. Okay. Now again, you can duplicate this system with everything, anything you can think that that somebody else might want to know. And you eventually work your way up. You eventually work your way up to 10 modules, 10 topics, 10 chapters, 10 modules, right? For a grand total of $95 for the whole entire course. That's the goal. Now you can add on to that later on. And like I said before, if it's a B2B type of thing where you're teaching people how to, do something on a professional level, when you're working with bands who are already accomplished that want to achieve more video views, or how to produce a really slick music video, or you're teaching, say, a recording studio how to better handle some scenario, whatever the case may be, then you could charge a lot more. But for these types of courses, enrichment and development courses, you're usually looking at a sweet spot of around $95 to $100. $97 is a common price for these types of courses. And if you do the math, you're talking about, a 10-minute video. If you wanted to go as high as that, 10 videos, that's 100 minutes. That's a lot of time, 100 minutes of video content. And that's just one module. So when you do that, on 10 modules, you're looking at a lot of content, for $97. So don't discount the value that this offers, and don't discount how fast you can actually blow through 10 videos. If you just did one module every weekend, you just shot those 10 videos and just walk through. You don't even have to script them out. Just off the top of your head, bang them out, give them away. Then next weekend, bang them out, sell them for $10. Next weekend, bang out 10 more, sell it for $20. Keep going up every weekend. Another $10, $10, and $10. And so it's a much better system. But if you wanted to do it during the week, you wanted to get it done quick, you wanted to do the whole entire thing in a weekend, it can be done. It's going to be long days, but it can be done. If you want to make a marathon out of it, by all means, get it up and get it running. But selling a course at $100 is better than selling a CD at $10. And And it makes the numbers work when we start to run advertisements, because we're no longer selling music. We're selling something relating to the music. And every one of the people who sees your ad that teaches beginner guitar, is going to hear you introduce yourself. Hi, my name is, and I'm from, and I've recorded, and I've performed, and I've been, for the last 10 years, right? Your whole bio is in that video. Do you think they're not going to go watch a music video of yours after that? Do you think they're not going to check up on you and see who you are? Do you think you're not going to accidentally sell a few CDs just because you were selling a course and who's introduced yourself? So all that happens now automatically. You develop fans by accident, even from people who don't buy the $97 course. They just saw your ad. And next thing you know, you're selling CDs. You weren't, but the intent was never to sell CDs. It was only to sell this thing. That's the brilliance of this model. And people do this. They will do this. You know, they keep seeing enough of your ads, and now they're like, who is this guy? What's he all about? And if you're doing a video ad, you can cut to, like, you know, some live performance shots, some music video shots. Over the course of the last 5 years, I have performed here and here with this guy, and you know, all those accolades. You know, if you throw that little bio in there, and you let them know that you are the guy to teach them this system, and that can be whatever, you know, teach you how to, whatever it is that you're passionate about, whatever it is that you're good at, you know, and then the music just basically sells itself. And we're going to offer it as an upsell too. So when they buy that $10 course, we're going to ask them, would you like to add this for an additional 5 or an additional 10 or even additional 20 at that point? And I mean, it's not uncommon that we can sell low and then upsell them to something else later on in the same transaction while they have their credit card out and they're spending money. And they already determined that they like you and they want to give you $10. You know, at that point, if you ask them for another 20, it's not uncommon for them to do that. We see this all the time. You know, a lot of people are skeptical as whether or not somebody will spend more on the upsell than they did on the initial sell, but they do. You know, they actually do. You know, and so eventually you're selling a $100 course, and you can, you know, with maybe a $25 upsell or a $50 upsell. You know, you have to keep in mind the market of who you're selling to. You know, so if you're selling to, you know, teenagers, you know, you got to make sure that the price is congruent with that audience. But if you're selling to, you know, the rich parents of teenagers, well, that might be a different scenario. You know, so that is the course creation system that we're utilizing right now